Welcome to our tutorial on graphing lines by finding points. In this lesson we are going to discuss how to find 2 points to graph a line when we're given a linear equation. First we'll look at equations that show obvious relationships between x and y. Then we'll look at how to graph lines by finding the intercepts when we're given equations that aren't quite as obvious. What is a linear equation? A linear equation shows a relationship where the dependent variable, y, changes the same amount every time the independent variable, x, changes. As we'll see later, this means the rate of change, or slope, is constant for a line. This is what makes lines straight. A line is made up of an infinite number of points, although since it's straight, we only need to find 2 in order to graph it. So, as we look to graph linear equations, let's start with the obvious relationships. These are equations that you can identify points for simply by looking at them and using some logic. Sometimes students overlook these because they're trying to use some more sophisticated method. For example, x plus y equals 5 means the coordinates of each point add up to 5. So, what are some numbers that add up to 5? Well, 1 plus 4 equals 5, and 3 plus 2 equals 5. So we can say that the points 1, 4 and 3, 2 are on the line and can draw the whole thing going through those points. X minus y equals 5 means the coordinates of each point have a difference of 5. So what are some numbers that we can subtract to get 5? Well, 6 minus 1 is 5. And 7 minus 2 equals 5. So we can say that the points 6, 1 and 7, 2 are on the line and can draw the whole thing going through those points. Here's another one. X equals 5. Now this means all the points have an x coordinate of 5. So we can actually use any point as long as its x coordinate is 5. Here I chose the points 5, 4 and 5, 1 and drew the vertical line through them. Another example is y equals 5. In this case, all the points have to have a y coordinate of 5. So we can use any point we want as long as its y coordinate is 5. So here I chose the points 2, 5 and 6, 5 and drew the horizontal line through them. But not every linear equation shows such an obvious relationship as these 4 do. So what are the intercepts? To graph lines that aren't quite as obvious, we need to find 2 points. Often the easiest 2 points to find are the intercepts. An intercept is where a line crosses either the x-axis or the y-axis. Lines usually have 2 intercepts. Vertical and horizontal lines are the only exceptions. The x-intercept is this point where the line crosses the x-axis. So the y-coordinate, notice, has to be 0. And the x-coordinate will change depending on what line you're dealing with. The y-intercept is this point here, where the line crosses the y-axis. So in this case, the x-coordinate has to be 0, and the y-coordinate will change depending on what line you have. So how do we find the intercepts to graph the line 3x plus 2y equals 12? As we just saw, the x-intercept always has a y-coordinate equal to 0. If we substitute 0 in for y in our equation, we can solve the resulting equation for x. Once we simplify this, we get 3x equals 12, and then divide both sides by 3, and we get x equals 4, and that gives us our x-intercept 4, 0. We also saw that the y-intercept always has an x-coordinate equal to 0. If we substitute 0 in for x in our equation, we can solve the resulting equation for y. So we substitute it in, we simplify and get 2y equals 12, then we divide both sides by 2 and get y equal to 6. This gives us our point 0, 6, which is the y-intercept, and now we can draw the line through those 2 points. Let's try one more just for practice. Let's graph 4x minus 6y equals 18. Again, the x-intercept always has a y-coordinate equal to 0. If we substitute 0 in for y in our equation, we can solve the resulting equation for x. We plug in 0, it simplifies to 4x equals 18, and then we divide both sides by 4, and we get x equal to 4.5. This gives us our point 4.50, the x-intercept, and we plot it on the x-axis right there. We also saw that the y-intercept always has an x-coordinate of 0. If we substitute 0 in for x in our equation, we can solve the resulting equation for y. So we plug in 0 for x, we simplify it to negative 6y equals 18, and we divide both sides by negative 6 to get y equal to negative 3. That negative 3 gives us our point 0, negative 3, which we can then graph on the y-axis and then graph our line going through those 2 points. So, now that you've seen a few examples, try the activities to graph some of these for yourself.